So India's got this brand new data privacy law, the DPDPA, and it's a really big deal. It affects pretty much every single company doing business there. And that means there's this huge urgent need for compliance. But there's a massive question mark hanging over the whole industry.
And yeah, that's the million-dollar question we're diving into today. The law is officially here, but are the digital tools that companies depend on actually ready to handle these new rules? This is something that's keeping everyone up at night, from the data protection officers in the trenches to the folks actually building the software.
All right, so let's set the scene a little bit. Back in 2023, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, the DPDPA, became law. And look, this wasn't some tiny little update. We're talking about a complete overhaul, a whole new framework that basically changes the rules of the game for how personal data gets handled in India. So yeah, businesses needed to get compliant, like yesterday.
Okay, so how do you even figure out if these tools are really up to snuff? I mean, you can't just cross your fingers and hope for the best, right? Nope, you've got to put them to the test. And that's exactly what one group decided to do.
And that brings us to this thing called the User Perception Survey. It was put together by the Foundation of Data Protection Professionals in India, or FDPPI, and their goal? It was pretty simple, but honestly super powerful. They wanted to ask the people on the front lines, the DPOs, the companies using this stuff day in and day out, what their actual experience was. They even opened the door for the software makers themselves to chime in.
And this was no simple, do you like it, yes or no kind of survey. Oh no, this thing was incredibly detailed. They dug into 29 super specific, really critical points taken straight from the DPDPA. We're talking the whole shebang, managing consent from start to finish, how you notify people about a data breach, and even the really tricky stuff like getting verifiable consent from a parent or guardian.
So, you've got this super detailed, really important investigation going on. You'd think everybody would be jumping at the chance to respond, right? A flood of data, people eager to share. Well, what they actually got was something else entirely. Get this. The key finding, and this is a direct quote from the FTPI's report, was this. The responses were lukewarm. Lukewarm. Instead of this roar of engagement from an industry ready to show off, they basically got crickets. A whole lot of silence. And the big question is, why? But hey, the report doesn't just drop that bomb and walk away. It actually tries to figure out why. It digs into the possible reasons for this quietness, and it paints a really fascinating picture of where the market is right now. So they came up with three main theories. First off, maybe it's just plain old inexperience. The industry is so new to these specific DP and APA rules that most companies just haven't had enough time to really kick the tires and form an opinion. Second, and this one's a biggie, is developer uncertainty. What if the people making the tools aren't even sure their own products can handle all 29 of those critical points? And third, it's possible a lot of these tools are just shelfware. They exist on a price list, but they're not actually deployed and being used in the real world yet.
But wait, there's one more angle to think about. Some of these developers might be playing their cards really close to the chest. They might see how their tool works as a secret sauce, right? And they're probably terrified of a public survey that could expose any weaknesses to their competition. Nobody wants to air their dirty laundry in public.
So, okay, a lukewarm response. Does that mean the industry is just completely failing? Is it all doom and gloom? Well, not so fast. The FDPI actually frames this whole thing not as a failure, but as something very different.
What the FDPPI is stressing here is that this is the very first survey of its kind in India. Think of it like a starting line. It's a baseline, a snapshot of where things are right now. And their plan is to do it again and again over time, creating this amazing benchmark to see how the industry and the software grows up and adapts to the DPDPA.
And all of this leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. You see, this widespread silence, this hesitation, it shows that the industry is being really, really cautious. And it makes you wonder, in this high-stakes game of privacy compliance, what's actually the bigger risk? Jumping in too fast with a tool that isn't quite ready, or not moving at all and getting left completely in the dust? That's the question that everyone in this space is wrestling with right now.